Right, good afternoon everyone and welcome to Plough Lane. I'm Nick Draper hosting 9YRSTV, giving you all the build-up for today's game, Wimbledon hosting Sunderland. I'm joined today, to start with, to my right, Anne-Marie Godfrey.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. To her right, George Jones.
Hello.
And to my left on this occasion, Rob Boyce is joining us as well.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rob. How are we?
I'm all good. Yourself?
Yes, not so bad, thank you. Looking forward to, hopefully, 3 points as we look to end a run of 10 league games without a win. But Carl Mackay has already commented on YouTube that today we will, in fact, win. And Carl, I hope you're a Wimbledon fan and that's not coming from the away end today. Otherwise, that'd be unfortunate. But we're looking to end a run of 10 without a win in League One. Sunderland start today with a new manager. Alex Neil's just come in charge. Lee Johnson let go a few games ago. They come into this on a run of 3 consecutive defeats and they'll be looking to stabilise their promotion push. Anne-Marie, is today going to end our winless run?
It's really hard. I mean, obviously Sunderland lost Tuesday, didn't they, to Cheltenham?
Yes.
I believe. It's difficult to see them losing twice in a week with, especially with the new manager about it is really, really tough challenge again for us today. Second really tough challenge of the week, but we've just got to keep going in with that mindset that we need to just change, bring back that kind of winning feeling, even if it's just a goal and it spurs from there. I don't feel massively positive after Tuesday, I'm not going to lie, but something needs to change, and why not today? It's Sunderland, but this is Plough Lane, this is Wimbledon, we've got to bring it to them.
I was going to say, George, that's what Anne-Marie says there about a goal. Sometimes when you're playing a team that's at the top of the table, we thought this might happen on Tuesday night against Rotherham. It didn't happen, but sometimes when you just get a strong tackle goes in, or a shot on goal, a chance, it lifts the crowd. We need that sort of energy. We didn't quite have it on Tuesday night, though, did we?
No, we didn't have it on Tuesday. It sort of lacked a bit of intensity, certainly in the second half. I thought first half, when we had Dan Choker on, we were doing quite well. We looked tough to break down at the very least. We still weren't great much, but we looked tough to break down.
Yep.
Second half, they found an outlet when we were struggling a bit on the left-hand side. Tough to go in as a centre-back coming off the bench at half-time. But yeah, I thought today it just needs something to get the crowd going, an early shot, early chance, or even just a heavy challenge from someone in midfield, just to get things going, get the crowd going. Because it's going to be a sellout today. We are our largest crowd by a long way. So just something to get the crowd going, because that's what we need today. We need the fans behind us.
Yeah, and Rob, I think the fans have been on match days behind the team. I think the atmosphere's been generally good. I just felt on Tuesday there was a little bit of a lack of belief maybe in the stands, and we want to, from minute one today, isn't it, really get behind them, really give them that spur, because this is a tough game, especially new manager coming in for Sunderland. That normally leads to a bit of a, I want to say bounce, but it leads to a little bit of that extra, put a bit of extra, like 10% from their players.
Yeah, I do fear their new manager bounce. Previously, like Anne-Marie said, they lost to Cheltenham, and then previous to that, I think they lost 3-0 to Doncaster as well. So I don't know if it's a good time or a bad time to be playing them, because obviously they've had a bit of a bad run of form with three losses on a trot. But then at the same time, they've got their new manager in now. I don't know if their tails will be up for today, but we really need to get at them from the first minute. We really need the South Stand to be loud and get behind the lads today.
Alex Neil is Sunderland's new manager, but his experience has mostly been in the Championship. Got Norwich promoted a few years ago, was at Preston before that. I think he left Preston about a year ago. So, George, it's sometimes difficult with managers that don't know this division. We've seen this with the big clubs. We've seen it with, quote-unquote, big clubs. Ipswich had this problem. Sheffield Wednesday looked to address this by bringing in Darren Moore, someone that knew the division, but even they've still struggled. Is a knowledge of this division more important than perhaps having had success at different divisions in the past?
I think experience isn't something that's so important in terms of specific divisions. It's about how good a coach is, how good a motivator he is, if he has the players backing. And that's something, obviously we know the person who might have had the Sunderland job, he didn't get it in the end.
You can say Roy Keane.
Oh,
it's
Roy
fine.
Keane, yeah. But
I don't think that's a secret.
Yeah, it's not a dagger, but yeah, for Roy Keane. So you look at him and would he have had the players backing him? Probably not, just because of the personality he is and what players have said at former clubs. But Alex Neil, players seem to have quite liked him at previous clubs. And, he led their training session yesterday. He travelled with them down from the north. So I think their players are going to be able to prove a point to him and try and earn themselves a place at the club for next season.
Travel down from the north. We're just clarifying Sunderland is north.
Yes,
yeah, thank
the
you.
north. It's north
The
of
general
Watford.
area.
The general.
Anywhere north of Watford is just the north.
Yeah.
Yeah. First and last mention of Watford today, viewers. Thank you for that, George. So, Anne-Marie, George mentioned there that on Tuesday night with the Rotherham game, 1-0 defeat, second half goal, which was a little bit easy for them. But in the first half, we looked all right. We changed shape a little bit. We reverted to the three centre halves.
Yeah.
I think the last viewed at Boreham Wood, if I'm not mistaken. Might have done up to Milton Keynes with it. I'm not sure. No, I think it was Boreham Wood the last time we went three centre halves. Do you think it's something we might think of doing today as well, perhaps?
It was obviously, like George said, it was difficult having to change things up at half time, and I think Will came in difficult circumstances and did well. So obviously the intention of what we tried to set out to do with that back three had to slightly adapt, which shows the depth and the flexibility of the squad, which is great. I think that we will probably it would be beneficial to keep trying that system, because I think it takes a few games to embed these things and really see the positives from it. And just really trying to stabilise things at the back. That's the main thing we need to do going forward into the rest of the run of the season, is make sure at the very least
sort of three fit centre backs at the moment. But I wouldn't be disappointed if we move away from it. I think it was a situation of the game, because obviously we all know the threat Rotherham have through Michael Smith. And I think the back three was really designed to just keep him out of the game. And for a large point, certainly in the first half, we kept him fairly quiet.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be disappointed if today we changed shape and played to our strengths, played with our flair, because Sunderland are there for the taking. Rotherham was always about, let's do what we can to stop them. Whereas Sunderland are coming here vulnerable, and I'm hoping that we go here and we're here today and we attack them from the off.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, I'll bring you in a second about actually perhaps taking the game to Sunderland and how we can do that. Just a quick quote from Zach Thompson, who is joining us, viewing us, watching us live from States. Good morning from Stateside. Our first win of 2022. Zach, we hope so. We really, really hope so. Zach, of course, of These Fine Gentlemen, big friends of the podcast. And yeah, I mean, when you see it there, though, it just reminds me, Rob, I know he said 10 without a win, 11 in all competitions, but you forget that actually our last victory was dating back Accrington. Back in last year before Christmas. Yeah. So when you look, as George says, you want to try and take a game to a team like Sunderland, perhaps maybe changing our attacking options maybe, and I'll get your views on that in a second, but is it hard when you're struggling for confidence on such a long spell without actually picking up a win?
Definitely. When Zach Thompson says first win of 2022, it reminds you, doesn't it? It's been quite a while. But at the same time, it's hopefully is coming. We can't, keep drawing and losing. At some point the tide's got to turn. I understand obviously we went 3 at the back against Rotherham. I understand why we've done that with Will Grigg and Michael Smith, but I'd like us to be a bit more attacking today. Obviously we rested both Ethan Chisler and McCormack on Tuesday night. I'd like one of them to come back into the fold today. I think obviously Sunderland not losing losing last 3. I think they're a bit more there for the taking today than Rotherham.
Yeah. I think with the other thing you mentioned there about the strikers that they had, and we talked about it a little bit on the podcast this week, Anne-Marie, is last week it was Charlton, it's Connor Washington that we're having to sort of defend against, and then on Tuesday night it's not only Smith and Grigg that start, it's Coyote who comes on and scores the goal, it's Freddie Ladapo who doesn't even get on the pitch. It just shows you what we're up against sometimes in this division. It's like Stu often says on the podcast, it's a 2-division. Like you've got your top halves and you have nots at the bottom.
I think that's it, and the teams at the top half have those players with such extra quality, and I think there's that danger. Are we entering danger by setting up a squad to manage one player? So the way we set up to manage Michael Smith, is that a smart move or is that a dangerous move? Because then does it make you lose focus of what the rest of the strengths of that squad and the dangers they pose? I suppose the counter argument would be, we just need to really make sure that we now make Sam Cosgrove their problem, and really set him up and bring our problems to them. Try not to, because I'm sure Robbo said at the start of the season, he tries to do as little as possible as he can on the opposition, like analysing what they do. Let's focus on us. But other teams in this division, they do have those extra really special players that, we've obviously we've had some come through the ranks, but we can't necessarily keep hold of them. But we've got some great players out there, and we just got to make sure that we provide that service to Cosgrove hopefully today. Make him their problem. Yeah,
I was going to say Cosgrove. I thought if we could look at positives from Chisnall, I thought first half especially Cosgrove looked mobile, as well as being someone who can perhaps bring others into play with his back to goal. I thought positive signs. Obviously, it's just going to take a few games to get him up to speed, get him linked with the players, and perhaps as Rob mentioned there on Tuesday night, we rested Chisley, we rested McCormack, but these are players that actually you'd like to see perhaps get closer to Cosgrove and benefit from what he can bring into us.
Yeah, well, I think Sam Cosgrove's had a major impact over the last week in the 2 games he has played. Obviously, you mustn't forget his lack of minutes up until joining us, which means obviously he got about an hour at Charlton and a bit more than that on Tuesday. And it's just, today, hopefully, if he's starting, hopefully he'll be able to get more minutes and make an impact and just grow into that, being that big number 9 that we need him to be.
Yeah, and we certainly missed that. We missed that for a spell, didn't we, when Ollie Palmer was missing? So hopefully that's today. We're actually just a few minutes away from getting today's team news from both teams, from both sides. But as we're talking about strikers, we have to make the point that Jermaine Defoe has returned to Sunderland. It seems to me when I look at their team sheet, Rob, when I look at their squad, that's the name that, of course, it's going to strike you because this is an England international, scored dozens of goals for England. What else is there? Is there something that I think maybe an Alex Pritchard perhaps, but really we're talking about teams off the top of the league, but I don't see the threats that Sunderland there that perhaps, as we've mentioned, Charlton Rotherham have before that.
Yeah, no, I don't think Sunderland are as strong as they once were, in my opinion. It looks like players like Aidan McGee, Catamol, which they had earlier on, he played in League One. I think they've gone down a different route of getting, young up and coming loan players We've got a player from Man City, a player from Bayern Munich, but I do think Defoe is the standout name. I'm hoping he's not match fit yet. He's been coming off the bench. Hopefully he doesn't start today, and he's not ready for 90 minutes quite yet, because obviously we know about his threats.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you going for in terms of our lineup? Are you going for the three centre halves? Are you going for the 3-5-2 or 3-4-3?
You know what? I've never really been a fan of three at the back. We played against Gillingham, Boreham Wood, played against Rotherham. Can't really remember us really getting any great results with it this season, in my opinion. And also, I just felt like we lacked a bit of our stats said it all in the second half. We didn't really have a shot. Lost a bit of attacking flair. So I'd like us to revert back to the 4-2-3-1 we've quite often been playing. Yeah. Like I said, I'd like to see even McCormack or even just come back into the fold today.
George, what do you reckon? Your pick, your guess at a lineup today?
I think, providing we show some attacking intent, I'm be quite happy. I think today's a game where if we go out and attack them early doors, then it's a day when we can get a result. And I think it's just about our first 10 minutes. So I'd like to see an attacking lineup.
And Anne-Marie.
I try and be sensible and think, I think we will try and just, like I said before, keep that kind of stable back line. I think if we are able to manage our way through the game and get at least something out of it, I'd be happy. I just don't want to leave ourselves vulnerable, but equally the heart of me is saying I really want us to go out and attack and go for it. Yeah. But equally the sensible part of me is saying let's try and manage the game a bit more defensively and just try and stabilise from the back. But
we'll see how we go. We're about to get team news from James Oliver-Pearce. We'd like your reaction to it though, and we'd like your comments. So remember to send us your comments on YouTube in the comments section. You can also, of course, tweet us at 9YRS Podcast or at AFC Wimbledon #9YRSTV or 9YRSTV. But yeah, George earlier caught up with James Oliver-Pearce, and he's going to bring us the starting lineup right now.
Joined now by AFC Wimbledon's first team coach, James Oliver-Pearce. James, I believe you've got the team news for us.
Yeah, slightly different shape today. We're going with a 4-3-2-1, so a Christmas tree shape if you like. In goal, Nick Tanev. At right back, Paul Osu. The two centre backs are Ben Hennigan and Will Nightingale, with Lee Brown coming back in at left back. In midfield, we've got Jack Rodoni, George Marsh and Luke McCormick, with the two in front of them as Ayuba Sal and Ethan Chislett, with Sam Cosgrove leading the front line again. On the bench, we've got Nathan Broom, Paul Callenby, Anthony Hartigan, Cheye Alexander, Thomas, Dapo Mabude and Aaron Cosgrave.
So, obviously the big news there, the change in shape, going to the 4-2-3-1. Is that something we're just in for this game, or is it something we want to be thinking about maybe longer term?
It's a 4-3-2-1, but it's just something that we look at our personnel, and it's something that gives us good balance defensively and offensively. It means that we're able to play probably some people in their more natural positions as well, and it's a way to accommodate the midfielders that we've got and the creativity. Ultimately, we know we want to be creating more chances and dominating the ball more than we did Tuesday night, and this we feel will give us that balance to do so.
Lee Brown obviously coming back into the starting 11 at left back. What does he add back into the side after a spell out?
Leadership, he adds personality, he's got a really good relationship with the lads already, and you can see his experience in just his decision making. So yeah, we feel that will certainly help. We didn't feel we was bad necessarily in the first half Tuesday. I thought we competed really well and we had some really bright moments. However, we just felt that, again, with the schedule we've had, freshening up will be a benefit to us.
And finally, last question from me. Thomas back on the bench. Are we excited about what he can do in that flair after a couple of really exciting performances off the bench in his early stages for his Don's career?
Yeah, Thomas he's a very exciting young man. He's got two excellent feet. He finishes really well. He's a young man, but ultimately his performances in training has led to another opportunity off the bench, and if he gets the opportunity to get onto the pitch, I'm sure he'll do something special.
James, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Right inside will be us live. Left hand will be what's on now. And we are back. So there we go. Team news there from James Oliver-Pearce. So welcome if you just joined us behind you live. If you've just joined us back, so Nick Draper here with 9YRSTV. To my right, Anne-Marie Godfrey. Stuart Deakins has joined us on the far right. I'm not going to make that joke again like I did last week. And then to my left, we've been joined by Jacob Kirkbride of SAFC TV. He's going to talk us through the Fan TV, sorry. SAFC Fan TV. He's going to talk us through the Sunderland lineup. But let's just concentrate on ourselves first, very quickly. So it looks to me, when I'm looking at the names on the list, Stu, as a 4-2-3-1.
Yep.
Ethan Chislett alongside George Marsh as the 2. Lee Brown comes back in at left back. Paul Osso's gone in right back. 2 centre halves, and then the what I'd call the traditional 3 this season, it seems, of Ayub Asal, Jack Redoni, Luke McCormick playing off Sam Cosgrove up front. But is that how it's actually going to be, or is it going to be a slightly tweak in that middle area?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think obviously we're trying to find a way of fitting in Sam Cosgrove at the moment, aren't we? Because hey, look, you couldn't test that on Tuesday night because we didn't get enough attacking space on that. But it looks that way. I think it'd be more of a case of Sam Cosgrove linking in and then bringing the others in. I'd imagine also, if you're looking at it, it's probably trying to. I think some areas. I think definitely Tuesday night. Sometimes we've been a little bit overloaded on the wides, haven't we? Mm-hmm. So I think it's also maybe a mindful in that. But I think the main thing we need to do is be able to spring out of attack, and because we didn't on Tuesday night, we got boxed in, didn't we, way too much. So I think it's just trying to find a way of us getting out and getting possession.
Anne-Marie, so about keeping that solid defensive line. We've gone back to the back 4. It's Will and Ben Hennigan in central positions. Interesting that we've gone for Ethan Chislett instead of Anthony Hartigan in the middle too. We spoke previously, I think, when I did the Shrewsbury game, we talked about trying to accommodate Luke McCormick and Ethan Chislett in the same team, but we seem to have swapped them from the last time round, where McCormick's looking more forward. Is that?
I think a couple of weeks ago we kind of anticipated that, didn't we, though, with the midfield, that we try and chop and change, keep people fresh. I'm actually really pleased, a little bit surprised with the lineup, but I'm pleased. It's great we've got Lee Brown back in again. Like you said, that brings back that stability, that experience to the back line. It then also gives us that added spark of causing a bit of problem if we get in the right areas, getting that service to Cosgrove, if we get a little bit of luck, because I think that's how this game will be. The priority will be just try and manage it, be sensible, be safe, but if we do get those chances, we've got Redoni, Asal, Chislett to cause problems. Let's hope we get that opportunity.
We hope so. So Jacob, be with now then. So
Thank
talk us through the. No, absolutely. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. Talk us through your lineup then. So it looks like you play like a 3-5-2. Have I got that right?
From what I gather amongst like the group chats that I'm in, it's looking like a 4-3-3 today. But where our players fit into that in terms of where they're positioned, I'm not quite sure. I mean, obviously, Patterson's kept his place in goal. For me, I think that's the right decision. I think Hoffman, who's
the Munich.
On loan from Bayern Munich, but he's not been performing lately. I think Anthony Patterson, bright future ahead. He had a successful loan spell at Notts County. He's back in. Carl Winchester and Dan Neil, who's been our main central midfield partnership at the end of the season, they're back in the starting lineup today after having a rest down at Cheltenham on Tuesday. Only tad disappointment, I would say, Patrick Roberts, our new signing, left out, but I would suggest that is mainly to do with the lack of game time he's had over the past few months. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the lineup. I'm looking forward to seeing Matete as well.
Right.
Decent signing from Fleetwood Town. Impressed me on Tuesday night down at Cheltenham, and ball-winning midfielder. And hopefully, he can be the key in the middle of the park today. But Bailey Wright back in the centre-back role as captain today. It's go-to. He's been a big miss for us, so hopefully today you can add a bit of leadership and solidarity in the back.
He's alongside Callum Doyle alongside him.
Yeah.
So he's the Manchester loanee from Manchester City. Very, very impressive player. I think only 18 years of age.
I think he's only just turned 18 recently. I think he was 17 at the start of the season. I mean, it's kind of a weird one that, because there's been talk of amongst the fan base that Callum Doyle deserves a rest, for a 17-year-old, well now 18-year-old lad, his first full season, under his belt, his first loan in football as well. It's now like the tiredness is kicking in a bit and his performance has been off recently, but I think in terms of the way we've played from the start of the season, we're a team that likes to play out from the back, and Callum Doyle's one of those centre-backs that normally shows a lot of comfortability on the ball when he receives it from the goalkeeper. So I think that's my main reason why I think he's kept his place in there. Danny Bath dropped, a solid centre-back we got in from Stoke during the January transfer window. He's been left out today, but looking by the team on Twitter, he's not even in the squad. So yeah, I don't know whether there's an injury in there, but who knows? You know, that team on its day should be enough, you know, to get 3 points. But recently, it's obviously been very poor. But I think what the fans are just wanting today is a bit of a reaction from the players, because it's just obviously not been good enough at all recently.
No, I mean, we'll look at Callum actually in more detail in a second, but on that point, in your recent form, you've lost the last 3, defeats Cheltenham to Doncaster in the last 2, and then you've obviously got Alex Neil who's come in. So what was the situation with Lee Johnson? My understanding is just before Christmas, I think you went on a run. I think you were 10 undefeated in the league.
Yeah.
Then you had the Lincoln game. I think was it Chris Maguire came back to haunt you.
Hat-trick that night as well.
Hat-trick, yeah. And then a few games later, 6-0 defeat at Bolton, and then Lee Johnson's out the door. Was that purely based on form, or were there other things
I
at play
think
there?
it's the away form this season. I think in terms of if you're looking at a side that's wanting to go up this season, I think it's only 5 wins away all season, and that's completely unacceptable. But it's the manner we've been getting beat away from home. I mean, the Bolton defeat for me was the last nail in the coffin for that, and I think I knew the club were going to react in some sort of way after that. I mean, but sacking him, I will be brutally honest, it came to me as a surprise. I mean, originally we brought Lee Johnson in, who was part of what we heard was like a long-term project. We brought a new director of football in, and we thought he was a key part of that, but obviously not. We don't know who's made that decision, whether it's Kirill Louis-Dreyfus, our new owner, or the shareholders and Charlie Meth and Stuart Donald. But you know, they've brought in Alex Neil. Obviously, Roy Keane was the main target, but will Roy Keane want to drop down into this league with the quality that's at stake and with the current ownership, you know, working under the director of football? I don't think so. Alex Neil, solid choice. It's from what I read yesterday, a 12-month rolling contract.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get too settled at Sunderland, would you, in all seriousness on that side there? What do you reckon on Lee Johnson? Do you think was he under pressure before the 6-0 defeat? Because you were saying you were surprised a little bit.
Yeah.
Was there a few?
Yeah, I mean, there was talk of like he went on a pretty, I wouldn't say overall bad, but there was like cup games as well as league games in between, some embarrassing defeats like October, November time. He was close. Talk of like potentially getting the chop then. He turned it around mainly because this is like from a fan's perspective. We had a lot of players out at the time. He went to 3 at the back, and Lee Johnson, you know, when there's a squad with a lot of injuries, he's forced into making decisions that he's got no say in whatsoever. When we do have a fully fit squad, the criticism with him, he normally chops and changes the team a little bit too much, and obviously but there's something, you know, a lot more behind the scenes. I mean, getting beat away 6-0 to Bolton Wanderers, obviously unacceptable, and it's happened a few times. 5-1 at Rotherham, you know, 4-0 at Portsmouth, away to Sheffield Wednesday midweek in November last year, getting absolutely played off the park. So something not clearly
when you're
right.
getting beat, you're getting beat by
the perks. Listen, Alex Neil's come in. The main perk is he's achieved one more promotion Lee Johnson's ever achieved in his managerial career, and that was with Norwich. I know that was 7 years ago, but it was through a playoff, which is looking like our best route at the moment. For me, I think the top 2's done, unless it takes something dramatic that allows us to get back in that race. But who knows?
We were actually looking at Callum actually, but Alex Neil, as we say, has come in. Stu, as you know, I'm very suspicious of managers that don't have surnames. I think you had that problem with Jack Ross as well when you first came down. So we have to,
explain more.
I can obviously comment on Jack Ross as spelling charge there, but you've mentioned their 5 away wins. Anne-Marie, we're looking at a team playing 2 home wins all season against a team with 5 away wins. It's got draw written all over it, surely.
Yes, I think so. I mean, to be honest, it's hard to know what to expect from today.
I would honestly put you a lot of favourites. I really would.
Well,
but the new manager bounce is the thing, though, and obviously the players are going to be, you know, obviously he's only just trained with them yesterday. There's absolutely no. It's going to take a few weeks for him to be able to give, you know, his sort of.
And it's not his team as well. The transfer window's gone. We sacked Lee Johnson right at the back end of it, so he's got 15 games technically amongst our fan base, 15 cup finals to galvanise this squad that's not his. So that'll be his excuse if he fails. It's not his team. So,
but will there be players in there who want to step up today to impress so that they can get in his squad?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So that's always a threat to us. I think you had a little chuckle when you said you had a player on loan from Bayern Munich. It's just mad.
Are we touching on that for Morgan Hoffman now?
No, because obviously, in terms of our model, we've gone very much with a young side with loans to complement them.
Yeah.
And over a season, it's quite, it's quite impressive. He must, he looks young. Let's be fair. He looks young.
Yeah.
But but his stats are out. From a loanee, his stats are outstanding. In terms of, if you look at how many games he's played, even only 4 yellow cards, so that says to me that his positional sense is very good. Do you think he's one to go back to Man City next season and probably be one of their next ones going?
There is potential there. I mean, whether Man City feel he's still not quite ready, I personally think he will be loaned out again.
Yeah.
Whether that's to us, I'm not so sure. I'm quite sceptical about him, but it's hard to judge because it's his first proper full season, playing on a regular basis. I'm surprised that he's been like a key member of the starting lineup this season. I'm surprised that for someone as young as he is and inexperienced, he's more or less been thrown in at the deep end. He's been
says a lot at that age, isn't it?
He's been one of Lee Johnson's first men on a team sheet. So there's a lot of potential there. But whether we've seen so many players over the years get hyped up at this age and it's fallen down the peg. But I do wish Callum all the best for the future. He sounds like a decent lad as well. So.
And you said he's a player that likes to play the ball out, pass it out from the back. But who are your sort of attacking threats, and who we've really got to keep an eye on now, knowing that Jermaine Defoe is loitering on the bench to come on? But
even if he was starting, obviously your point of view would be, he just needs one touch, one goal. But the lack of game time he's had from November last year, it goes back to, from a fan's point of view, people were saying he was brought in for a PR stunt to get a lot of fans on side, but I purely believe he was brought in, he loves the club so much, he'd run for a brick wall for this club. Potentially, I'd like to see him back in some sort of recruitment role someday, but it's debatable how well he does in these 15 games we've got left, but I want to be in a situation where we can't be too dependent on him. He's 39 years of age.
Imagine that.
Doesn't look 39 though, does he?
No,
he
some people are just lucky like that.
Yeah, he looks exactly the same from his West Ham days, to be honest.
You mentioned there, just last one on this one was Callum Doyle. You said about the fact that how players can get hyped up a little bit early when they're young players. Of course, there are some times when players come good when they're very, very young, such as Wayne Rooney. And Wayne Rooney's just relaunched a Amazon Prime documentary. You can see the link I'm doing here.
Up the Rams, I hope you keep them up.
Do we quickly touch on streaming services and documentaries at football clubs, or is that something you'd rather avoid?
I'm happy to speak about Sunderland until I die, mate. We had 2 seasons. It's mixed opinions, mate. To be honest, obviously the performances on the pitch didn't help. I mean, Series 2 would have been a perfect ending if it wasn't for a last-minute winner for Charlton Athletic.
Well, of course, at Wembley, yes, of course.
Yeah, but...
Did you feature on it?
I was interviewed, unfortunately. Never got used, by the way. Sorry, Netflix, you missed out. No, it's one of those. Listen, people have different perceptions on it. I think... this is from, I know people who worked on it. There was a lot of things that weren't used in the 2 series that I think could have made it a whole lot more. I think the first series, even though it was poor to watch from what was on the pitch, it was based more upon a fan's point of view. I think the second series was more, there was a so-called storyline involved in there of how these new owners would do, and sadly it's went drastically wrong. But yeah, it is what it is. We've had 3 documentaries made about us now, Premier Passions in the 90s, and 2 series on Netflix. So, and they've been unsuccessful the whole time. So cameras, they're not allowed back, unfortunately. No, but back to what you said. Threats today, obviously, Ross Stewart. Since we got him in from Ross County, unknown prospect, and he's. Well, at the start of the season, he was firing all cylinders. He had a bit of a gap from October, I think, to December, where he hadn't been on the score sheet. But on his day, great player for this division. His first touch is sublime. He's great at finishing, good in the air as well, unless we can adapt our style, unless what Alex Neil picks today to accommodate him more. But yeah, I think he was top goal scorer in the league for a while.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Smith at Rotherham at the moment. He's just about edged above that. But yeah, on his day, he is a threat. And obviously there's talent in our squad, but it's just all about consistency. I could pick out so many players now that could, be the main difference today, but it's whether they can maintain that same amount of quality for 90 minutes.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Jacob. Before we let you go, we've got to do a round up of quick score predictions before Jacob departs. Surely we can do it before kicking as well, but...
well, yeah, I did mine on the podcast, didn't I? So I'm a boring 0-0.
Well, yes.
Just because I think we just need to get a point somewhere along the line.
Have you seen our defence recently?
Yeah,
yes, this is,
but you haven't had the beauty. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 0-0.
0-0. Anne-Marie?
I think it would be 1-1.
Okay.
I think I would be really, really pleased with that if we manage to nick a draw from today, and hopefully eliminate that new manager bounce somewhat, give him some things to think about. But they're a real threat. You've got Defoe on the bench.
To be fair, like, you're probably thinking new manager effect. Our record over recent years from like new managers' first games have been 50-50 at best. It's normally like their second game where it's kicked in, but it could go either way today. Yeah, it could go either way. Fancy for yours.
Oh, well, I said on the podcast this week I went for a 3-3 draw because why not?
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, so let's have some entertainment. But what are you thinking? You've said these are the sorts of games. You've said we're perhaps favourites, but also these are the sorts of games, if you want to get promoted, that you kind of need to get maximum points from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll probably get a battering from the rest of the lads on the channel if I go against us. But yeah, I think obviously you guys, I reckon, will score, but I reckon 2-1 to us. Just though, it'll be close.
Of course, this is only Sunderland's second visit to AFC Wimbledon because, as fans, sorry, last year came here and won 3-0, but no fans allowed, of course. And then the season before that, it was curtailed. Season was curtailed early, so there was Lee Cattermole was the last time I saw Sunderland, and 2 goals in the second half, turned it around, got 3 points. So might be another 2-1 today.
Could do with warriors like him in the side. Yeah, I'm not allowed to give a plug, by the way.
You are indeed.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to SAFC. So get liking.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Right, so in terms of what we're going to do now, we do indeed. Earlier in the week, George Jones went down to the training ground to catch up with a player that impressed in the past week, and that was Cheye Alexander. This is George's interview with Cheye.
Wait, man. Me too.
Joined now by FC Wimbledon Cheye Alexander. Cheye, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Cheye, obviously you were back into the starting 11 on Tuesday night for a tough game against Rotherham. What were your thoughts on that game?
I thought we done well first half. Second half we didn't come out and do our jobs right. But we worked hard. We could have worked a lot harder, but in the end I think it was a fair result.
Well, was the disruption of losing Dan Choker at half-time something that you think was an influence in the game, or do you think Will slotted in quite comfortably onto that left-hand side?
No, of course, that could have been not an issue, but that could have obviously stopped momentum. But we can't blame that. We all know second half we wasn't good enough as a team, and yeah, we'll take it from there.
Now this next section is all about getting to know you more, and some of the questions, they start off quite sensibly, then some of them get a bit strange, I'm afraid.
Okay.
So just first things first, talking about your daily routine on days when you have training. Just
okay.
Heads up.
Fair enough. Oh.
So when you have training, are you the type of person who is just one alarm up and at them, or are you the type of person that has to have 3 or 4 because he constantly hit snooze?
I have one alarm, but I also have a son. So he wakes me up before the alarm goes off. So yeah, I'm up crack of dawn.
So one of those things, daily routine, is it really just based around the sun, or is it, what's your daily routine look like before you get out of the house?
Wake up 6:15, have a shower, get ready, see my son for half an hour, and get on the road. Takes us an hour and a half to get here. And yeah, and as soon as we get in, get to work, and then get home about 3.
When travelling in, are you car sharing with anyone, or are you travelling in on your own?
Yeah, I'm with Midget Marshy and Aaron Cosgrove.
Well, I think it's fair to say there's a couple of characters in that car.
Yeah.
I think that's...
Oh, and Woody, should I say.
Okay, yeah. I'm glad I'm not in that car on the way back, because I imagine that's quite noisy.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific music when you're all travelling in? Do you take it in turns, or is it driver pick?
To be fair, just radio. Whatever comes on, comes on.
Do you have any particular favourite music at the moment, or is it just whatever's on?
Yeah, just whatever's on, really. Don't really have a particular favourite.
And when you are travelling, obviously you said it's an hour and a half in. Yeah. Question from Stuart Deacons: what's your favourite motorway services?
Oh wow. Probably Clackett.
Clackett Lane?
Yeah, probably. It's the main one we go past, so we do stop in there occasionally.
Now, these questions are all about what happens when you're having it imagine a quiz or a TV show setting. So basically, if you were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, who would be your phone a friend?
Oh. Marshy.
If you were on Come Dine With Me, 3 people you'd want to be on with?
What, in general? Like
in the squad. Or club, at least.
Maka. Go Dapo. And I go with Marshy again.
Now, on the subject of TV, is there anything you're watching at the moment in your downtime, if you have any with a kid?
Yeah. Nothing apart from the general stuff that Mrs. watches. Coronation Street and Emmerdale.
You able to watch much football, or are you someone who switches off when you're not playing?
If I can watch a game, I will. I'm always on the move, so.
A few moments later.
No, I watch football. I watch a game when I can. But yeah, I'm always on the move, so I find it quite difficult to sit down and not be busy, really.
Now, when you are able to watch a game, is there a particular pundit you like or dislike?
No, I like Gary Neville, to be fair. I like him a lot. I think he's probably one of the best ones out there.
Now, we always end these interviews with 9 quick-fire questions, so these are the first 9 things that come to your head, basically, on it. So, Alexander Armstrong or Alexander the Great?
The Great.
Aldershot or Alders Croydon?
Aldershot.
Was Cressida Dick right to resign, yes or no?
No.
Plastic straws or paper straws?
Plastic.
James Cheye or John O'Shea?
John O'Shea.
Which planet would you rather visit, Saturn or Uranus?
Uranus.
Bar, yes or no?
No.
Would you rather take your partner out on Valentine's, Silverstone or Langston Space Museum?
Silverstone.
And finally, the most important question, when making a cup of tea, does the bag go in first or the milk?
The bag.
Congratulations, Joe, you've got that one right. That's the most important question.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Good luck for today's game against Sunderland.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, welcome back to 9YRSTV. That was George Jones interviewing Cheye Alexander down at the training ground on Friday. I am Nick Draper. I am joined to my right by Anne-Marie Godfrey and George Jones. George Jones is shortly going to be sacked for saying Langston Space Museum when the question clearly said Longstanton Spice Museum. So, George, yes, this will be your last appearance.
Yeah, I've had a good run. I've lasted about 6 weeks longer than I thought I would.
Yeah, I mean, we should have set you off to Nick Knowles or Nick Knowles, but this one, it really is. What I was going to say there as well, Cheye, we're going to have words. You can't pick John O'Shea above James Cheye. James Cheye is an absolute legend and a big friend of the podcast. So, yeah, disappointed
Is
with
that despite his record on certain quiz questions?
He turned that around. He has... he's corrected his ways, he's realised the error of his previous ways, and now he does know in fact that the milk goes in last at all times. And also he plays for a fantastic club. But anyway, we're moving on. So Tom Large has been down in the fan zone chatting to some of the fans in attendance today. He's caught up with a few by the look of it, a few different generations of fans behind these.
Hello everyone and welcome today. I'm joined by
Ian,
Blair,
Stephen.
So guys, what's your score prediction for today?
2-0 win.
2-1 win. 1-0 win.
And favourite players?
Well, go on, you go first.
Sal.
Good shout.
Lee Brown.
Lee Brown, love it.
Nightingale.
Nightingale, fantastic. Back to you guys in the studio.
A range of different predictions, scoreline predictions, range of different favourite players there, which is always good to see. Some positivity with the score predictions there. It's interesting, the choice of favourite players always interests me, because you've got Lee Brown, who's very new to the side, but obviously he's made an impression in terms of his personality, his character. He's got that experience which lends itself to a certain generation perhaps, but then obviously you've got the young academy players that have come through, Ayub Assel, Will Nightingale, the sort of players that I think we all traditionally tend to gravitate towards, don't we? Dare I ask, Anne-Marie, who your favourite player in the current squad is?
Oh, it's Sanev. Someone asked me this earlier. It's because he just smiles. Even if we lose, we have a bad, or even if it's a terrible game, he walks off the pitch, he's got the biggest grin on his face. And I just love that. Like, you've got to start with that positive attitude to get that kind of habit going again, that winning mentality. I just love him. He seems like a great character.
George, dare I ask?
Yeah, I think it's a tough question because all our players now are actually, for the first time in several years, actually good. You know, people. They're all really nice blokes, and that's something that's makes it really hard to pick a favourite one.
Of course, George sitting on the fence as always. Well, one of my favourites at the present moment is Cheye Alexander, and we're just going to have to take a quick look at him here. So George obviously met with him the other day, and I think what's often forgotten with Cheye is how much his age. I think he's actually 27 years old. I think sometimes we forget that, I always view him as a youngster coming through, but actually he's got quite a lot of experience. He started 18 times this season, so he's a good number of games, coming in at right back mostly. We look at Cheye, and England's the international, of course, in his past. We look at Cheye, and I think, do you know what? There's a player there that I think is underrated. I mean, he's not starting today, unfortunately, but underrated. I think he gives us a lot of width. Good passing ability, good crossing ability. It's a bit of a given with this squad that we always get 100% from every single individual. I don't think we've questioned that, but he does give us that. But I think I've been impressed with Cheye this season. George, what have you made of his contributions? I think that what I'm slightly surprised at when I look at the stats on the screen there is no assists, because I always view Cheye as someone who's getting forward, always maybe not actually getting final assists, but actually his contribution, especially going forward on that right hand side, has been excellent.
No, yeah, he's been an outstanding player for us over the last couple of years since he joined, and the thing that impresses me most is versatility, which you don't often get at full-backs, and he's very comfortable on the right or on the left, and that just means he's a perfect option, like we got on the bench today, where if something happens to either Paul Osser or Brownie, he can come on, he can make an impact on either side, and it's going forward, he creates us a lot of options. The year he joined in that Barnet season, the 19-20, he had the most successful crosses in the National League. So that just shows his class. He's an outstanding player for us and a really good option off the bench this afternoon.
Yeah, and Marie's got a lot of experience there in the non-league, but I think that sort of gives you a little bit of a sort of almost battle hardening, isn't it, when you go down to those levels. And the experience they're playing men's football always, I mean, clearly perhaps failed to take off at Concord Rangers there for a spell, but other than that, I think he's had a good run.
I really, really like him. I was surprised he wasn't in the lineup today. I think he has been playing well for us. I am surprised that he's not had any assists, but I reckon if you break down the matches, how much he's been involved in when we have had goals, when he's even just involvements in attacking moves, he does give that threat. Totally agree with that comment. He can defend and attack. It's what George said, he's very versatile. I absolutely remember when we signed him, he had that stat about the number of crosses in the National League. It was really, really exciting. We haven't seen the best from him yet, but he's a very exciting player to have in the squad. And like you said, he does bring that experience as well. Those assists will come. He just got to get he's got someone to aim for now. That's the main thing.
That's the big difference, isn't it? When you've got a 6'4" striker up top. Absolutely. It's interesting. Points per game when Cheye's played, points per game was 1.05. Was actually above average for the team as a whole, because we are 30 played, 30 points won. So there might be something in that as well. I have been taken by Bishop Stortford, because I'm interested in the etymology of these things. Like, why is it called? Like, so I didn't realise this because I'm a bit of a numpty and I should have known this. But Bury St Edmunds, right, is named Bury St Edmunds because that's where St Edmund is buried, right? So yeah, that is why it's called Bury St. I know. Bishop Stortford. Where's that come from?
We never have these conversations when you're not hosting. I felt the need to point that out for some reason.
Well, there are some.
You've had a different class to the show.
Well, thank you very much, George. We'll take that one. And then again, I get back to Port Vale. Yeah. What's that about?
Well, you should have asked Jacob before. Is it the land of Sunderland?
Of course, yes.
Who knows?
Who knows? All the big questions on 9YRSTV. Some other guests to give their thoughts on today's.
Hi guys, I'm joined by Nick,
Alba.
So guys, what are your score predictions for today? I reckon 3-1 to Wimbledon.
2-1 to Wimbledon.
Lovely stuff. And who's your favourite player? Jack Rudoni has really impressed me this year. Very, very skillful. Hope we can keep hold of him. And I've got £5 on him scoring 2 today. Fantastic. And your favourite player? Asal. Lovely stuff.
Nick, if we get a sec, can we just promote the winners again?
We can indeed, George, don't worry. But just don't get caught doing stage directions on camera, George. It makes us look so unprofessional. It really is. I mean, God dear me. Honestly, right, hello viewers, just joining us, I'm Nick Draper, I'm joined by Anna and Godfrey and George Jones. Some more positive scoreline predictions there from the fans behind the goal, and a shout out as favourite player again for our academy players. And I know we've got a number of them in the squad at present, but Jack Rudoni and Ayoub Sal getting the name checks there. Jack Rudoni is attracting a lot of interest currently, is he not, from championship sides, we are led to believe.
Yeah, there's a couple of sort of those Twitter rumour mill sites saying there's championship interest, which, you know, Jack Rudoni's a player who would suitably fit into a championship side. He's that good a player. Hopefully it's not true. Hopefully he's going to be our player for several more years. But, you know, he's a very, very player, and he's one of those players who you just think inevitably he's going to outgrow us.
Yeah, I mean, Amory, what have you made of Jack's performances? Because he's starting again today. Again, the team struggled over the last, well, as we say, as we all know, since the turn of the year, really. So we want to get Jack back in amongst the goals and assists, don't we? But when you're watching him play, as I said on the podcast, his technique is outstanding. I think there's some player that ball comes to him, it's first touch, never an issue with his first touch. He's out, his head's up, he's looking around. He's got all the qualities, hasn't he, to play?
I mean, he is. Well, we were talking earlier about players with different added quality. He brings so much. I think we forget his heading ability as well. He's ridiculously good. And to watch him grow as a player is fantastic. What I really like, particularly about Ruben, is constantly coming over feedback from the bench. He wants to learn, he wants to be better. Even though there's a lot of this championship interest around him, he is still staying grounded and he wants to do his best for the club. I'm the same as George. I hope he stays with us for many, many years, but he is a ridiculously good player.
Very, very, very talented boy. Apologies if there's any noise interference. There's some gremlins in the system. Yeah. Perhaps a metaphor for... Anyway, moving on. Right, League One today then. As you can see, we are hosting Sunderland. Team lineup is just along the bottom of your screen as well for you to check in if you haven't seen it yet. But around League One today, there's some big fixtures, and the one, Amory, that pops out to me massively above anything else, Morecambe versus Gillingham.
Yes.
Gillingham have had a little bit of a renaissance under new manager Neil Harris. A couple of wins, beat Cambridge in the week. Morecambe, if it wasn't for a very, very, very late equaliser from Bolton last Saturday, they would actually be above us and we'd be in the bottom four. But that's surely, I mean, as much as we'll be keeping our eyes on what's going on in front of us today, I'll be keeping very much keen on at the Globe Arena. Is it still called the Globe Arena?
Yeah.
Is that a sponsor's name?
I assume it is.
Okay, we'll call it the Morecambe Stadium. Anyway, sorry, Amory, go on.
I mean, it's difficult to know what we really want that outcome to be. Either way, a win for either side is going to affect us. The head in me is saying let's just focus on us, but obviously we're going to have one eye on that result. I mean, Neil Harris has obviously quite clearly had an impact on this squad going in. They want to play for him. I think they're a real threat. They're still definitely in it. They're still definitely in a survival position. So I guess the best we can hope for is a 0-0 draw in that one.
George, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think Amory's right. If that's a draw, that's perfect for us because that means we stay out of bottom four today. And it also means that if we get a result today, we can gain ground over two teams around us. I think another game today that's absolutely massive is Cheltenham-Fleetwood because those are two teams just on the edge of it. Yeah. And whoever loses that is going to be dragged right back into it today if there's a positive result for one team in the Morecambe game or we get a result.
Yeah, I mean, looking around the fixtures there in the division, and do you know what strikes me? And I know a lot of these clubs have been around in the Football League for a while now, but what strikes me is you've really seen the impact now, 2 up, 2 down from the Conference or the National League to League 2, and you look at the amount of teams that are, just because you mentioned there, Cheltenham and Fleetwood, recently non-league teams. You look through Lincoln recently in non-league, Morecambe there, Doncaster, maybe about 20 years now actually, so maybe I'll ignore that one. But it just shows you the movement in division. Sorry, that's just me amusing viewers. Elsewhere, Lincoln-Wickham is an interesting one for me because Lincoln are still in the mix, I would say. Wickham, strange form. Like they can't seem they're still in the top 6, but they're not really picking up wins as you'd expect them to. And I thought we all think we were super unlucky not to have won at Adams Park just before Christmas. Yeah,
I think we were unlucky not to win there. We deserved it. I think even their fans would admit that we deserved to win there. So I think the main thing there is about just seeing what they can do. But for Wickham, they are inconsistent, but they are top 6 and they're going to finish in the top 6. But they're just not that team. They're not that Rotherham that just grinds out a result every week. They're very hot, cold, and unfortunately, we weren't able to capitalise on that.
I wonder if part of it's just with Wickham that they're sort of just slightly running out of that steam because things were just absolutely flying for them at the start of the season. Just going back slightly to when we were saying, Jermaine Defoe's 39. Pretty sure Bayo's 39. Yeah. He's still playing. So
very different playing styles.
Very different. But I do think that if Defoe comes on, he is still a threat. I know that there's that element that is a big PR move for the club for Sunderland, but equally, you can't that class and that quality. If he's in the right areas, he could cause us problems if he comes off. So let's hope he stays nice and warm on the bench.
Yeah, and just why one of they were talking about, obviously you were talking about earlier with the Sunderland fan about the Lee Johnson situation leaving. He was very opposed to bringing in Defoe,
Right.
and then all of a sudden he loses his job and Defoe comes in. So I don't know if there's a correlation there, but it's worth discussing.
Yeah, it might well be. It's something we might explore later on as we get down to kick-off. As you can see, Plough Lane there on the screen looking resplendent in the sunshine as the teams are just warming up. You can, of course, watch this game if you are not coming down to Plough Lane, or if you're not at Plough Lane already watching this on your phone or a mobile device, whatever. You can watch the game on iFollow around the world. It is available.
Not in the UK.
Not in the UK, obviously. No. But around the world. And we have many, many fans that are watching us from around the globe at the moment. And we caught up with one, actually, giving us their experience of watching Wimbledon.
Hello everyone, my name is Evan Murray and I'm coming to you from sunny, wintry St. Peter, Minnesota. Is a lovely town of about 12,000 people in southern Minnesota. It's far enough away from Wimbledon that it's not really useful to measure in kilometers or miles, so instead I measure in time zones. I am 6 hours behind Wimbledon. Here's what it means for my weekday game routine. And because I work from home, I get the luxury of keeping an eye on weekday games while I'm at work. I stop in on meetings and write code and do all the things I'm supposed to be doing. I know you're probably wondering what it is I do in Minnesota during the winter other than watch Wimbledon. So here it is. Yelling. Hard! Hard! Yep! Oh, well, my Saturday morning routine is much more fun. Good morning, everyone. It's approaching 9 o'clock local time on a Saturday, which is game time. So I am getting out of bed, heading downstairs to make my coffee, and getting ready for the game. So my Saturday morning ritual means a lot to me because I live across the country for most of my friends and family, but I don't watch the games alone. I watch the games online with a group of friends and family. Because we're all Ted Lasso fans, we call ourselves the Diamond Dons. And it's really special to me because the last few years have been really difficult for all of us. Some of us have gone through some really tough times. Watch some football, but mostly talk about life, check in on each other, make sure we're doing okay, and really make sure that we still feel a sense of community, even though we're very far apart. And to me, that's what AFC Wimbledon is all about.
I had to give it back to them.
Oh my God. Oh, we're live.
Yes.
Hello. Sorry. That was.
We've absolutely aced those links today, haven't we?
There was me telling George off earlier for being unprofessional, and then look at me. There you go. So that was Wimbledon fans around the globe from St. Peter in Minnesota, which is just outside Minneapolis, Minnesota, which I think is that Spike is our director, you might know. Minneapolis, Minnesota, I hear Brock Lesnar, but that could be wrrong.
Yes, correct.
It is Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Least incarnate.
There we go. Current? No, he's not current WWE champion, is he? He lost it. Sorry for spoilers if you've not yet watched the Royal Rumble. Sorry, Rob. We'll say no more. Right, so we can see pictures there. Sorry if you're joining us again. So Nick Draper, Drawback, Anne-Marie Godfrey to my right, and George Jones on the far right, which he isn't. That's Plough Lane players warming up then. We've got big game, Sunderland at home today, looking to end our run of 10 League One games without a win. Sunderland looking to end a run of 3 consecutive defeats. And they have Alex Neil coming in for his first game in charge as manager after the departure of Lee Johnson. Tom Large has been out and about, and he's been getting some. He's been asking the fans what their views of this afternoon's game will be. And I think we've got another one of those lined up.
So we're joined by Ben and Tom. So guys, what are your score predictions for today?
Oh, it's going to be a tight one. I think the Dons going to do it. I think we're going to do a victory. I reckon 1-0 to the Dons today.
2-1 Dons, come on.
Love it. And then who are your goal scorers for today?
Nesta, Guinness Walker and Asal.
Lovely stuff. And I believe your favourite player is Ness, is that correct?
Yep.
Fantastic. Love it.
Thank you very much, Tom. Again, more positive predictions. I think that's every single prediction we've had today has been a Dons win, which is power of positivity, I think it's fair to say. We were just seeing some pictures live there from Plough Lane. I had to mention that if you were watching us earlier, there was a little bit of sound interruption. That sound was actually coming from that camera that is roving around. I believe it is Stuart Deacons, the face of the BBC Sport website, who is behind the camera there, getting us some shots as we warm up in the goal mouth. And as you can see, Plough Lane starting to fill up, the east stand there starting to file in, and look at that, beautiful as the away end fills up. The beauty of the problem with being relegated, so I said this in the past because we're talking about potential being relegated, and I've said, well, a relegation from League 1 to League 2 isn't the end of the world in the grand scheme of things. But what I will say is that this season, what's made me realise is that this division has become full of big teams with big away followings, and if you were to go down, you aren't going to miss, as I look behind me now, just look at the stadium, the big away atmospheres. We've had Wigan's and Sheffield Wednesdays and Portsmouths, and now we've got Sunderland's and Rotherham, to be fair to them, 550 they brought up in the week for a Tuesday night game, which is very impressive, I think. These are the games to look forward to, isn't it, Anne-Marie? The big atmospheres, the big away followings.
Yeah, definitely. And I think obviously for them it's getting in a new ground as well, a new stadium. They want to come check it out. And lots of these big clubs, like Jacob was saying, he's London based, so some of these really, really big top half clubs will have a huge following within the capital. So it's easy to get to. I think the problem is though, we just got to make sure that they're not making more noise than us. We've got to make sure it's nice and loud, and this end can be absolutely bouncing. So I hope it is today, because I'm pretty sure we'll be a sellout.
Yeah,
certainly
complete
pretty
sellout
full
today.
But yeah, we'll see some much bigger away crowds, much nicer for them to come to and have a roof over their heads compared to Kingsmeadow.
Oh yes.
We might be able to see some of the game here as well.
Yeah.
We might actually be able to see the whole pitch. Yes, the SRO signs are out for today's game, and that was a Gorilla Monsoon reference as well, because I like getting those in. Tom Large, have we got one more from Tom Large, I think, perhaps? No, we all have Tom Large. My apologies, I have got that incorrect. But yes, big away atmospheres, fans travelling down in their numbers, being able to see the game as opposed to at Kingsmeadow, where we did stick them quite roughly down the side. What's interesting, so Anne-Marie, where's your seat when you come down to watch us? Are you in the south stand, or are you down the side?
No, I'm a couple of rows behind the home dugout.
Nice, okay.
So I can sort of see and hear everything going on,
yes.
Which is a really nice position to be in, but often get distracted by the drama on the benches than on the pitch.
100%, because funny enough, yeah, so I'm just behind the away dugout as well, so always keeping an eye on what's going on. But what's interesting where we are sat is, we talk about atmosphere, is that both sets of fans, home and away, really do make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
What's quite funny about that is it's often they can't hear each other because they're making so noise and their voices are echoing back, so we do get these quite comical situations where both sets of fans think the other one isn't making any noise, which is not true. The atmosphere has been fantastic all season, I think, George, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, no, the atmosphere here has been great for most of the games this year. Today it's going to be a sellout, so it should be nice and noisy. So it should be a really positive atmosphere today.
Yes, sorry, if you're viewers, I keep saying listeners, dear me. I'll start calling ladies now as if I'm back in the classroom. I was distracted there because we do have another Tom Large, and it looks like Matt Harwood. Is that Matt Harwood that we spoke
hiding under the shades?
Under the shades, under the Terminator shades. This is Tom Large back in the south stand.
Hi guys, I'm joined by
Matt and George.
So guys, Sunderland come to us today. What are your predictions?
I'm gonna go for a hard fought 2-2, but I would rip your arm off for a point. New manager bounce.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I'll go for a 1-1 draw this time.
Ooh.
Perfect. And who are your players to look out for today?
Well, I don't want to look at any of their players. I want to look at ours. So I want Cosgrove. I want Cosgrove on the score sheet, and I think maybe a set piece, Ben Hennigan or a Will Nightingale. I fancy a goal from the back today.
Yeah, don't really. Maybe dangerous from set pieces and corners, so maybe get a decent goal from there. I think go in with a shout.
Fantastic. Cheers, guys. Cheers, guys.
Matt's there gone for a point today, and Matt is also rocking what I would call a big boss man look there. Loving that. And then joined there by George, not this George, but a George that shows how a beard should look. Sunderland, let's have a look at our record previously against Sunderland. Last season they came down to Plough Lane, no fans were allowed, they turned us over 3-0, Charlie White with a hat-trick with 2 late goals, although I think we played actually well in that game. The scoreline was perhaps not reflective of the overall fixture. Earlier in the season, Carl Winchester with the only goal as they beat us 1-0 at the Stadium of Light, which I think last season we actually got a point up there. But normally, I'm just trying to think, I don't think we've actually beaten Sunderland since we renewed rivalries in League One. But our last victory was in the Premier League. We beat them 1-0 in the year 2000. It was our first game of the new millennium. Carl Court scored the only goal with a back post header. I remember it well. We ended up the season getting relegated from the Premier League, so that's all we'll say about that. But Carl Court, we actually knocked them out of the League Cup that year as well, funnily enough, beating 3-2 at Selhurst Park when I was 6 years old. And again, my memory is amazing considering. But yeah, we talked about Shrewsbury, because I think it's now 13 games we've played with Shrewsbury where we've not won any of them. And Sunderland must be approaching, what now, 2, 4, 6, 7 games maybe? So surely that's time, Anne-Marie, to end this run and get a win over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we said, we are up against it today, but you know we're all set up, we're at home. I think any time that we can bring a result to them, it's going to have to happen one time. We're going to have to break that chain, and why not today? But equally, you know, that runs happen for a reason. They do have a much bigger budget than ours, and they're almost operating on a completely different level. But equally, we like to cause an upset, and we really need one. We need that classic match where we can say, I was at Plough Lane when this happened, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the next few weeks, but I hope it starts today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, George. I wasn't sure if you were looking to add something there or not. But,
I think it is time that run ends, and I think today's a great day. Obviously, we've seen that attacking shape we're going with today, the attacking intent. Sunderland are vulnerable. We've seen that over their last couple of games. They're going to have conflicting messages because they only met their new manager yesterday. I think if there's ever a day to break that record, I think today's the day, especially in front of a full house here at Plough Lane.
Even though Alex Neil, as we've mentioned, has two first names, so we're a little bit dodgy. I was thinking about Mark Robinson, obviously. I'm assuming that name comes from Robin's son, like in the old sort of Icelandic tradition. And we were talking earlier, viewers, about Bishop Stortford and where that came from. Anne-Marie's done some research and can exclusively reveal where that sort of came from.
Yeah, with the help of Mr. Wikipedia,
Yes.
we found out that the Bishop Stortford is named after a bishop from 1060 who bought Stortford Manor.
There you go.
So there we go.
So it was Bishop's Stortford, and there we go.
I'm a different club next time.
Oh yeah, we'll do Port Vale next week. So answering all the big questions now. Back to the game. Sunderland's last 5 on the screen there, as you can see, just the one win. It was against Portsmouth, who are inconsistent, I think it's fair to say at the moment, and then the 3 losses that they've had, the two real, for them, disappointing losses. Now, my worry is, as we mentioned earlier, Cheltenham were on their own winless run of about 10-11 games before they played Sunderland in the week. Sunderland will not want to be the team that twice in a week have helped end teams' long winless runs, are they? That's surely a factor against us.
Yeah, no, I think it is. They're going to come out, obviously their new manager as well, going to be able to prove a point to him and to their travelling fans today that they're, not as bad as some people think they are. So they're going to come out and fight with everything they've got. And I think, to be fair, that works in our favour because we've seen what we've done against teams that are setting up defensively and are, being a bit negative. So I think it's really encouraging today that they're going to come out and attack us because that will suit our style of what we're doing today.
Citizen Smith, I think of Tooting Beck, 8-0 to Wimbledon.
Love the positivity.
That is positive, isn't it? That is quite something.
It's not been positive enough. It'll be 9-0 at least.
Well, yes, but you know what? 8-0. Well, this is going to be such a circuitous route to where I'm going with this. But back in the year 2001, of course, a Football League panel actually, in the first instance, actually rejected a proposal to move Wimbledon FC to Milton Keynes, and that was voted by a majority of an 8-0. So 8 board members, they all said no, and it was an 8-0 reverse. And of course, this week was 20 years since the Dons Trust was founded on the 10th of February 2002. Big celebrations down here on Thursday night. We'll speak to Louise Cant-Kelly on the podcast in the coming weeks about that and all that's been achieved since the Dons Trust was founded 20 years ago, when the thought of us playing back at Plough Lane was, no one would have actually believed it. And to be actually here today, despite whatever poor form we might be in, we must not forget the bigger picture here, which is what the incredible thing we have achieved and the incredible club that we've set up. And part of the incredible club that we've set up, I told you this was circuitous, does involve also a ladies team who, George, with half term coming up, a Wednesday night fixture at Plough Lane this Wednesday.
Yeah, so the women's team are here at Plough Lane on Wednesday night, 7:45 kick-off against QPR. Tickets, £5 for adults, under 18s are free. You can get them on the club website or pay on the day. Should be a great one. We're still in title contention, trying to get pushed for promotion. We've reached the semi-final of the Cup as well. That's in a couple of weeks' time. So it's never been a better time, half-term, under the lights here at Plough Lane. No men's midweek game this week for the first time in a while, so get yourselves down here.
Thank you very much. Now, there is Plough Lane, as you see. I think that is... Well, Stu must be sort of nearby us then, if that's a live photo of Plough Lane. In the sunshine, we are just a few minutes away from kick-off. We've sort of done our predictions. If we aren't to get a positive result today, though, however, what do we want to see in terms of our performance?
Attacking intent.
Attacking intent.
Just, bombard them, shot on target. Let's make it. If we're going to leave here with nothing less, at least make sure they've earned 3 points.
The match official in me wants to say, let's keep our heads, not pick up any unnecessary yellows. Whether we're going ahead or if we're behind. Just try and be sensible, and I think that most of the players are pretty level-headed. So
I would just say, just building on something Anne-Marie said there, Ayub South still on 9 bookings. Yeah. We're getting to a stage now where 2 of the next 3 after the Bolton game are starting to look quite big, so we don't want to miss him for one of them. So Ayub South not to get booked, pretty please.
Okay, well, yeah, as George mentioned there, after today we do have a week off. Travel to Bolton next week, don't we?
Yeah.
Before games with Gillingham away and then Doncaster visit in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, very prudent point. Fast. Final quick look at the team that's lining up today as we approach. We're about 7 minutes from kickoff. Nick Zanovic in goal. Ben Hennigan and Will Nightingale are our centre halves. At full-backs we have, or wing-backs, Lee Brown and Paul Osu. In midfield, nicely titled the engine room there on the screen, George Marsh and Lee McCormick. We've gone for in that sort of holding position. And in front of them, Jack Rodoni, Ethan Chislett and Ayub Asal, before, of course, Sam Cosgrove leads the line. And that's it. I think we're going to get into position, aren't we, for kickoff. Don't forget, international viewers, you can watch this on iFollow. Check local listings for the prices of that. Visit afcwimbledon.co.uk. We'll be back immediately after the full-time whistle reviewing what happens today. But George, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And Marie, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for watching. We will see you again on YouTube at full time.